Smith & Wesson Governor. I did a video like this about a year ago, but I have to do it again just because there's so much misinformation about the Smith & Wesson Governor as well as Taurus judges that I had to do a video like this because I get so many comments on a weekly basis that is all based on misinformation about guns like this. People say a lot of weird stuff. And what really got me irked was I saw a video probably a month ago. I'm not going to mention names, but a person took one of these types of revolvers. They took some foreign ammo that's made for shotguns. They jammed it in there, and then they would fire 1 or 2 shots and it would jam up, and then they couldn't extract it. And this was their proof that revolvers are not very reliable. And that kind of irked me a little bit there. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to sum up what these guns are really for, what they're meant for, how they're designed, and just clear up some of the misinformation about this. So I did write some notes down here because I wanted to share something here. Now, these type of revolvers, especially this one here, this Governor actually says on the side, 45 Colt, 45 ACP, 410, 2.5 inch. But it's actually only chambered for the 45 Colt. If you actually look inside the chambers here, what you'll see is at the exact length of a 45 Colt at the case mouth, it tapers down to the cylinder throat. So basically it's tapering down, so that basically makes half of this chamber here basically like a barrel. And it's not quite as tight as a barrel, but it burns up powder in that space. So even though it's a 2.75 inch barrel, what you actually have from the bullet nose to the muzzle is about 3.8 inches. You take away, typical distance there that you have in a typical revolver, and it equals out to about 3.5 inch barrel revolver. So basically this is like a 3.5 inch barrel revolver. But a lot of people will like say, well, you get terrible velocities because of that. You should have used this, you should have used that. And what they're doing is they're looking at information on tests I did where mainstream companies had ammunition that performed terribly. Just like I've seen with a lot of different cartridges, way below rated velocity. And it wasn't my gun, it was the ammo. And the proof I have here is because I decided to look at some ammunition that's loaded properly. That would be Buffalo Bore. I did not cherry pick these numbers. I just took out 3 random ones that I saw on Buffalo Bore, and I took a look at this because I know they use real firearms here. And here's our 200 grain jacketed hollow point. They use a 4-inch barrel, model 625, I believe. It's a Smith & Wesson mountain gun, a 4-inch barrel, actual regular revolver. They got 1,015. I was averaging 970. And the rest of these two are also in the 4-inch barrel revolver. 225 grain wad cutter, 951 feet per second. In their 4-inch revolver, I actually got higher, 977 feet per second in the Governor. 225 grain lead hollow point. They got 983 feet per second in their 4-inch revolver. I got 999. Higher again. I averaged those 3 numbers. The average for the 4-inch barrel mountain gun, 983. Those 3 rounds, 983 feet per second. The average I got was 982 in the Governor. So we're getting about the same velocity for a 45 Colt as what you're going to get at a 4-inch revolver. So I wanted to share some specs here of why this is chambered for a 45 Colt. It is absolutely chambered for it. You can see it in there where the cylinder throat starts right at the case mouth. You can see everything here with how it's chambered, and it's not made bigger or smaller or something like that for the other cartridges. And the reason why is because the 45 Colt, out of all the cartridges it can fire, is actually the biggest cartridge. We have a neck diameter of 0.480, a base diameter of 0.480, bullet diameter of 452. Everything else that it can fire is actually smaller. We look at 45 ACP, instead of 4.80, it's 473 at our neck. Our base, instead of 4.80, it's 476, and then the same 452 bullet diameter. 410 here, instead of that 480 for its neck, it's 455 for the 410. Instead of 480 for the base, the 410 is 0.470, and then the bullet or payload is 41 caliber, 410. So there would be no need for a modification to actually make it chamber 410 or anything else other than to make it slightly longer here. That's really the only thing they've done. They made the cylinder throat longer, not bigger or anything like that, just longer. And common knowledge would tell you in that space, powder will burn up. So this is a legit 45 Colt revolver here. So that's what this is, and the fact that it can chamber other things just coincidental there. So like if you were to take like a 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum and you try to chamber it in there, even though a 460 Smith & Wesson is 478, really close to the 480 neck and base, it would not chamber because the case mouth would hit the cylinder throat and it would stop, it wouldn't go in. So that's why this is definitely another sign this is chambered 100% for 45 Colt. A lot of people think, oh, that's so long, so I could just throw a 4570 in there or 460 Magnum. No, you can't. It's chambered for 45 Colt. So this revolver is very, very versatile. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a ballistic test. I'm going to do it with ammunition that people might typically use or say they might use. A lot of people told me they would use birdshot. But what I'm going to do here is rather than get up close, I'm going to do 10 yards from the jaw block, because 10 yards is going to be more of a realistic distance. Like if you shot from 1 foot with birdshot, it might look impressive. But if you actually look at, you know, real world application of this, 10 yards is really going to show us what we're looking at. So what I want to do is I want to shoot what you can basically shoot through this thing. This thing is very versatile. You could actually get cylinder adapters that chamber like 380, 38 special, 9mm, 22 long rifle, and have a very versatile in addition to what else it can fire. But I would not necessarily recommend that, and I would not really consider that part of the versatility. But basically, you can shoot any type of 2.5-inch shot shell. And today what I'm going to test from 10 yards is some bird shot here. I believe it's number 9 shot. We have some, this is the best ammo out there. This is the Federal triple-aught buck for handguns. What this gun can also fire is it can fire 45 Colt and 45 Schofield. I'm going to test some 45 Colt here. And we have some specialty 45 Colt, which is a little bit different. You know, because that those cylinders are so long, you can actually make loads kind of like the way there's Ruger only loads for like 44 Magnum, where you can make the bullet extra long and it's still gonna, you know, the case mouth is still gonna stop right there at the cylinder throat, but you have a lot of extra room in there in the cylinder throat to put a really big bullet in there. So this is at maximum expansion, solid copper here. And the thing can also fire 45 ACP, and they use some moon clips here. And unlike a normal semi-automatic revolver where the moon clips go in and hold it, and the only reason for that moon clip is to extract it, with this, this actually has to be used to hold it in. Like a typical, let's say you have a 10mm revolver, if you were to drop a round in, it would actually stop at the cylinder throat, and you could fire it without the moon clip. You just couldn't eject it. Now with these, you do have to do that. So 45 ACP, and then we have some 45 gap here. So 45 Glock automatic pistol, that'll actually chamber and fire in this thing just fine, which is roughly about the same pressure as a 45 ACP plus P. So information here I've got with this. I don't know what I got with the bird shot. I'm not going to run through the chronograph. I didn't do that with the buckshot either, because the wads can hit the screen and break it. But basically what we're looking at here is 436 foot-pounds energy with 4 triple-aught buck. Do this. The 45 ACP is a 200 grain plus P. I got 761 feet per second through this. I ran a shot over the chronograph. 257 foot-pounds, pretty low, because you do lose a little bit of a pressure with the 45 ACP, because the chamber is wider than a 45 ACP, so some of the pressure goes outward. Same thing with our gap here. I don't know if I wrote down what we got on that. It was about the same power though. With 45 Colt here, this one we had 870 feet per second. It's a 220 grain, 370 foot-pounds energy. That's pretty typical with a good 45 Colt. Then we're gonna run our Barnes here. This is our 200 grain XPB. This is actually a very lightly loaded load, and this is where I get some of those negative comments, because this is only 773 feet per second, 265 foot-pounds energy, and people would just be like, "Oh, you using that, so that's what you get." But why is the Buffalo Bore ones almost spot on? You know, that would be my question. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go from 10 yards. After clearing up some of that misinformation, I'm going to go from 10 yards here. I'm going to shoot the gel block with various different loads and see what we get. All right, 10 yards from the target. I'm going to start out with that bird shot, and this is something I would never recommend. This is probably the most dangerous one because we might have some ricochets, so I'm going to try to guard my face the best I can. Got my secondary camera kind of far away for this, so I'm going to see what we get here. Here's our bird shot, 10 yards. All right, there's not much going on here. These are very consistent though. We have several different BBs here, right at about 2 1/8 inches. So That's why I would not really recommend this. If this were actual flesh, would be about half that. So you'd be looking at like about an inch of penetration into the skin. Unlikely that would stop a threat. So let's try something different. I'm going to go on to that Barnes bullet here. It's our 200 grain copper round. Not a very powerful round, but it is solid copper with a very big hollow point. So I wouldn't necessarily hesitate using that for self-defense. So 10 yards, let's see what this will do. We'll take a look. All right, so we exited the block right about here, and doesn't surprise me. We got some different fragmentation. What we can see there is we got at least, well, I didn't bring my measuring tape right here, but we got at least about 11 to 12 inches before it exited. So that's pretty good. Let's try something else. All right, I'm moving right on to the one that I would definitely say is probably the best round for this if you're gonna go with shot shells. It's made for handguns, and when they design stuff for handguns, they make it to extract, they make it to just work a lot better. So we have our Federal Personal Defense triple aught buckshot. 10 yards. Let's see what we get. Let's take a look. All right, so some of these shots went kind of high. It looks like, again, we had exits out. I had to exit out the side here. Looks like I made 2 impacts out of that 4. 2 here, and then a third one down here, and the other one's probably right over here. So even at 10 yards, we are grouping within a foot, which is a really good grouping for something like this. But we did catch one ball here. And what we got for penetration with that is about 10¼ inches. So not really that great of penetration at that distance. I'd like to see greater, but when you have 4 of those hitting, and if it was a person, because I'm a lot bigger than this gel setup, all 4 of those would have hit an attacker, and that would have done some damage. So let me try something different. All right, here's our 45 GAP or GAP Glock automatic pistol, and let's see what this will do from 10 yards. Try to aim a little bit lower. Let's see what we get. All right, so either I missed the block or it just passed through. I'm having a hard time actually hitting these point of aim. So I'm gonna have to aim actually below the block then, because I was aiming at the base of the block. Let's see what we get. Let's take a look at that. All right, not surprising that we got a complete pass through. So we got a pass through of 16-inch gel block. Looks like there's a little bit of expansion maybe going on. Not too impressive there. Let's try our 45 ACP. All right, 45 ACP, gold dot, 200 grain plus P. Let's see what this will do. All right, it veered out the block, and I'm seeing a consistent thing here where it's wanting to hit really high because I'm aiming basically at the wood that's sitting on. So I'm gonna aim below that wood there then, and see what we get. See if I can get another gold dot in there. So take a look. All right, that's excellent. Their gold dot, even though our velocity was only upper 700s, we got some expansion there. We're only at 9 inches of penetration, but get good expansion. Let me try something else. All right, here's our specialty load, our maximum expansion. Heavy bullet, this is our most powerful one here, and it is a correctly loaded 45 Colt. It's done by Underwood, so 370 foot-pounds, which wasn't bad. See if I can make a hit with this. All right, let me try again with that maximum expansion. See if I can make a more centered hit here. Aim right below the target, I suppose. All right, let me take a look at that. right, so we skirted along the bottom, which is interesting. You know, it's like I'm aiming here and I'm hitting here, then I'm aiming here and hitting here. So it's just hard to keep consistent accuracy with that. We're not going to see a whole lot in terms of uniform expansion of that, just because it hit the bottom of this. And we're only at probably 80 inches here. Yeah, we're about 7 3/4. And we got partial expansion because this is where it's going to hit the gel. This is where it scooted along the bottom there. But that's about how much penetration you typically see out of something like this. So let me take a look at this gold dot up close. And here's our gold dot. There's no really need to measure it. That's about 60 caliber. That's going to be our best performing one as far as expansion. However, I would say our buckshot did pretty well for what it is. And our 45 Colt, you know, I didn't really have a very good 45 Colt cartridge out here to show. If I had, you would see really good performance with like buffalo bore with regular jacketed hollow points. But I just wanted to make this point here about how you really have to be selective of your load choices, because it makes a big difference. Now for fun, I'm going to shoot at some steel from some ridiculous distances, just to kind of show kind of an example of how shot shells and bullets are different from each other for people that might not really know that information. All right, 40 yards from the target, really far. But I just wanted to prove some points here. So I got a couple rounds of 45 Colt. First I have that Barnes, and then I have that extreme expansion one, maximum expansion. So here's a regular 45 Colt. There's the maximum expansion. All right, so now after that, I got a couple loads of that bird shot. Now this is stuff that people does swear by it, that they'll use it and use it for home defense, but they swear by using it on the street. But what if you use it on the street and you have one of those rare situations where you have to make a 40-yard shot? What will happen? I don't know what happened there. Now here's something else there was a lot of misinformation on. People will say that buckshot like this is so bad you can't hit anything at any distance, but stuff that's made for handguns is relatively decent. So let me run our federal buck here, 40 yards. See what this does. One more. So I'm making solid hits with that buckshot from that distance, and they extract just fine. Let me run some solid ammo here. I got some gold dots here and the moon clip and the plus P's. See if I can make any hits from 40 yards with this. Alright, pop out that moon clip. That's the great thing about the moon clip ammo, is you can reload it fast. I have 2 empty cases in here, so it won't be super fast, but yeah, you can really drop those in when they're full, and they will drop in faster than a speed loader, which they're not doing now because my empties are kind of bent, but that's my point there. So 45 gap. Let's see how I can do with this. All right, so what we're seeing here, though, let me try to find my moon clip here, is that what we're seeing here is these revolvers, when you're talking solid ammo, they're pretty good. They're pretty versatile. They're pretty accurate enough. I had some trouble at 10 yards because I'm not used to squatting down and shooting, so I'm just kind of like struggling to make those shots. But when I'm standing up in my normal shooting position, you know, shooting at 40 yards is not really a big problem with this. Trigger pull on something like this is a slightly heavier than typical just because the cylinder is really big, but it's a very smooth trigger. And I know that sounds ridiculous, you know, it's not light, it's smooth. But what I mean is it's very predictable, where it's locked up right there. You can predict that lockup. So you can, what smooth means is you can apply more force, but it's not gonna like click and pinch and then all of a sudden the shot break when you don't expect it. You know, like if you're too heavy and not smooth, it's like, and you just, but thus it's heavy, but you can predict it, so you can apply the appropriate pressure. That's what really a smooth trigger means. So overall, this Governor's a pretty good choice here. So I didn't bring out really the best ammo that I could have because I didn't have any, but I wanted to still make those points there that you really need to use the correct ammo. It's not a pistol shotgun. It's not only good at 5 feet. It's a 45 Colt revolver, and if you use solid bullets in it, it shoots like any other revolver. And if you use the right buckshot, and here's the key, the right buckshot, we're seeing that it does very, very well. So out of all these I brought out today, I'd still probably stick with that personal defense buckshot. That was a pretty good choice for something like this because, you know, even at 10 feet, we only had less than a foot spread, or not 10 feet, 10 yards, we had less than a foot spread. And at 40 yards, I don't know what the spread was, we're still hitting. So I just wanted to clear up some of that misinformation again and say these are pretty decent. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.